Who's out there? Check, check, check. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Now, today I'm going to talk about how to understand the 1-4-5 progression and the 12 bar blues. Now, there are other forms of blues also, but I'm going to specifically talk about the 12 bar today. Now, beyond that, let's talk about the 12 bar blues or I mean the 1-4-5 first. Let me turn down the light a little bit more. All right. All right. Now, where does the 1-4-5 come from? It really comes from the major scale. Okay. And the 1-4-5 is literally the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord in the major scale. So, for instance, let's look at the C major scale. That's usually the one that everybody looks at first because there's no sharps or flats in it. Now, what are the notes? What are the chords in the C major scale? So the notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Now, what happens is we harmonize these notes according to the formula for a chord. Now, the formula for the chord is a 1-3-5. Don't get that confused with the 1-4-5. The 1-4-5 is a formula for the chord progression. The 1-3-5 is the formula for a chord. Big difference there. So I'll be teaching that the whole music theory thing of how to build chords very soon and alive, because that stuff's real important. But basically, each one of those notes in the major scale is turned into a chord, and it's literally harmonized, just like in when singers are singing, like the Beach Boys stuff. Crosby, Stills and Nash, Mamas and Papas. Those are the ones I always think of that have really good harmonies. The Eagles. But so basically, a 1-4-5, if we're just looking at the notes in C, C is the 1. Then we have D, E, F. F is the 4. Then G is the 5. So the notes are C, F, and G. Now, each one of those, depending on the type of blues that we're playing, a shuffle, a slow blues, or whatever, dominant blues, you would turn those into those kind of chords. So a 1-4-5 in C is C, F, and G. So just the basic chords even, there's your C, there's your F, there's your G. So we've heard this type of chord progression a million times. The 1-4-5 is the most used chord progression in music. Whether it's these songs are in other keys, but like Louie Louie, or Wild Thing. A lot of different progressions, and that 1-4 is used a lot in pop music also. Even I taught Dead Flowers, the Rolling Stones song, the other day. That song is a 1-4-5. It's actually a 1-5-4. It's in the key of D. So the 1-4-5 in D is D, G, and A. But like I said, it's a 1-5-4. D, most songs that we hear, um, there's some type of 1-4-5 in it, and then it goes beyond that. Now, that's kind of the basics of where a 1-4-5 comes from. We'll be looking at different keys today and different styles of blues specifically. And I'm going to base some of it off of, I wrote a Beginner Blues Licks ebook that teaches 20 different licks over a 12 bar blues in E. And we'll talk about that also a little bit. But let's talk about, let's start with the 12 bar blues in E, specifically because you can play the shuffle. That's one I kind of teach pretty early to all my private students. Now, first off, what's the 1-4-5 in E? If E is the 1, we have E, F sharp, G sharp, A. A is the 4, B is the 5. Hey, William. This is part of the reason why I'm teaching this is one of my patrons, William. We were talking about 12 bar blues the other day, specifically. So I'm glad you're here, William. And William, all the progressions I'm going over is posted attached to the Patreon link. Okay, so and I can get you more stuff too. So the 12 bar blues or the 1-4-5 in E is E, A, and B. Okay. So if we're playing the shuffle, E is going to be like this. The A, you just literally drop down one string and then you play the 5th and 4th. The E is 6th and 5th string. The A is 5th and 4th. The E is, the 6th string is an E open. The 5th string open is A, so it kind of makes sense. And these are both, they're kind of power chords basically. You see them written as E5, E6. And then the A, you drop down, like I said. And then the B, that's also on the 5th and 4th string. First finger on the 2nd fret, 5th string. Third finger on the 4th string, 4th fret. Then we got the pinky. That's the hardest part of the B. You know, it's a little bit easier with the E and the A because it's an open position. Now, there is another B you can do. You got to be quick to grab it. It's up on the 6th and 5th string at the 7th and 9th fret. So if you're playing the E and the A down here, you got to be quick to get up there. But if you practice it there, it does help a lot with your reaction time. And also, there's an A right here. All right. So we're going to look at the shuffle. There's a couple different forms. The basic 12 bar where you have 4 measures of E, the 1 chord, 2 measures of A, 2 measures of E, 1 measure of B, 1 measure of A, 2 measures of E. Okay. So I'll play that first. Now, 1 measure with the shuffle is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so that's 2 times doing that little shuffle there. So if you have 4 measures, that's going to be 8 times on that. So that's kind of how to think about that. So once again, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and there is a couple different ways even to play that shuffle. You can go second fret 2 times, and then hit that 1 time and then go back. Or you can do it where it's there's even one where you go like that, but my favorite one is definitely, but you can kind of, mix those up also. Now, I'll go ahead and play that 12-bar blues, and then we'll talk about, the quick change after that, where we go into the, 4 chord in the second measure. And then, I'll also be talking about how to figure out 1-4-5s and other keys. There's a couple patterns that, I'll teach that are actually on the neck. And then we'll talk about, kind of the shuffle versus a slow blues, a minor blues, and a dominant blues. All right, so the 12 bar blues shuffle in E is just then it starts over again. There's a lot of different variations with this, but that's your bare bones 12 bar blues. And it's real important to practice, very bare bones 12 bar to get used to it, get used to the timing, you know, uh, have conceptualize what a measure is there. What's a 12 bar blues? It's 12 measures, bars, measures, the same thing. This bar is a little bit different from a bar chord, right? So one bar is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'm counting eighth notes there. It's kind of eighth notes in a swing type feel. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and in that kind of feel, it always reminds me of Jimmy Reed. Love Jimmy Reed, Little Walter, Magic Sam, definitely Muddy Waters, BB, Freddie King. All the greats, the ones that really kind of started the electric blues and the ones the Brits were really into, back in the day. And then, of course, Stevie Ray had a pretty deep swing on a lot of stuff. Stuff like that. But Clapton, you name it. And there's straighter type blues, like Chuck Berry really played more straight type stuff. That's a great example of a straighter type blues, or even like who was that? Georgia Satellites. I can't even think of the name of the song right now. Keep your hands to yourself or something like that. I should know it since I'm here in Atlanta, which they're based of. Yeah, I think it's keep your hands to yourself, but a lot of different types of blues. Now, um, that is just a basic 1-4-5 in E. Now let's talk about a quick change where you go to the 4 chord in the second measure. Lot of songs have that. I believe Before You Accuse Me is a quick change. A lot of BB King stuff is a quick change. and that's where the rest of the setup is the same as far as the skeleton. Um, the cars, oh yeah, love the cars, love the cars. Um, but oh, the cars hiss by my window. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I get it now. I get it now. Um, but I thought you were talking about the band, the cars. Hilarious. All right. All right. But the quick change is, let me play through that. And like I said, the second measure it goes to A. So not that much different, but you're just adding in the four chord in the second measure. You can play this in any key. Um, besides that, real quick, we can talk about where the turnaround is in a 12 bar blues. The turnaround is going to be after the 5, after the 4, and back to the 1. So, like, just like that. So you hear a lot of different type turnarounds that, why do they call it a turnaround? Because you're turning around and going back to the beginning again. So once again, stuff like that. And this, that's doing a walk up right into that B7 chord right there. Okay. So it goes back to the B7. That's a little embellishment that you can do. Just like that. Now, I don't want to go too deep into the single note stuff, the turnarounds and all that, but a clue as far as these turnarounds go, a lot of them that you hear like this, and yes, these little double stops here are called sixes. Um, Basically, this starts and is kind of based off of the E7 chord. Okay. That backwards D chord down here. You've got your D, but the backwards D. Move that up 2 frets, and that's where you start these turnarounds. So what I'm doing there is I'm picking down with my pick on the 3rd string, and then I'm picking up with my 2nd finger or 3rd finger, usually. So it goes, see if you can see it. Then I'm hammering on open 3rd string to the 1st fret of the 3rd string, and also hitting the 1st string at the same time. Then the 2nd fret 4th string, which is an E chord. Hey Daniel, it is 12:19 right now. Standard time, Eastern Standard. What time is it at your place? Um, but yeah, so one more time on that, and then I'll move on to some other patterns. just like that. That's one example of a real basic turnaround, but one that you hear many times. Um, Now let's talk about patterns as far as figuring out 1, 4, 5s and other keys. So if we use these power chords, like I did in the shuffle a few minutes ago, say for instance, this is an A chord. I know, I do them early. I've got some people in the UK, so it's later in the day, but yeah, definitely. I'll be doing some at night too, Daniel. I've mostly just been doing them on Saturdays, and some of my patrons, my Patreon crew, are in the UK, so I want to make sure they're able to see it because I think right now, what is it, Dan? William, like, is it 6 o'clock over there? 6 p.m. But yeah, I'll get some in the evening too. Oh, you're in Scotland, William? That makes sense. 5:21. That makes sense. I was thinking UK for some reason. But where in Scotland are you, William? 5:20. Oh, so 5 hour difference. Nice. 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 Yeah. A good friend of mine used to be the president of Edinburgh University. Oh, Scotland is in the UK. See, I'm American. I don't know my geography. Yeah, because that's like super north, right? Northern UK. I'll still be here, Daniel. So all good. Um, so I was going to talk about the pattern for 1, 4, 5s, figuring that out using these power chords. Some of you may have seen this before, not sure, but it makes it real easy where you can play in any key. Right. So here's that power chord A. Now, all you do for the 4 chord, here's the root for the A. Drop down to the 5th string. That's the root for the 4 chord. Then move up in number by 2 frets. So this is the 5th fret. Go down to the 7th fret. That's the root for the 5 chord. So here's the A, D, E. Now, so the 1, 4, 5 in the key of A is A, D, and E. And just to talk about the A major scale, we've got A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. So that goes along with it. That's our backup right there. But you can always use this pattern. When the 1 chord is based off of the 6th string, you can just literally go. So all major, like that's good lovin', that's super old tune. Once again, Wild Thing. You can always check it that way. But you can apply that same skeleton of the 12-bar blues, 4 times on the 1 chord, 2 times on the 4 chord, 2 times on the 1 chord, 1 time on the 5, 1 time on the 4. And what I mean by time is measure, right? So if we played the shuffle, it would be all power chords, but using our pinky, right? So a little bit tougher to do, but I'll play through that and then I'll play the quick change just as an example. So that's your basic 12 bar in A. Now I'll play the quick change. All right, so there's your quick change in the key of A. We can apply this to any other key as long as the one chord is on the sixth string. Like if we did G, there's your power chord for the one chord. C would be your 4 chord. D would be your 5 chord. Just like that. You can go up to B, same exact thing at the 7th fret. That kind of reminds me of, even though it's in the key of D, is Statesboro Blues, Allman Brothers. Great song if you've never heard that. Now, there is one other pattern that I want to go through, which is if the one chord is on the 5th string. So, for instance, here's an E. Let's just take E as the one chord. What you would do is the one chord would be here, but then you go back 2 frets to the 6th string for the 4 chord, right? Then you move up 2 frets to the 5 chord. So, there's that reverse thing where E is the 5 chord of A, but A is the 4 chord of E. So there's a little reversal there, depending on how you like to think about it. So, for instance, if you wanted to play the one chord on the 5th string, or that's where you grabbed it, and you were doing a quick change in E, you could go E, A, back to E. Then to the 4 chord A. 5 chord B. All right, so there's another example. You can do that, D, G, A. So there's kind of 2 different ways you could look at that. Time's a flying here. Next thing I want to talk about is a minor blues. So let's talk about, for instance, A minor. Let's do an A minor blues. The 1-4-5 is still going to be the same. A, D, E. But now we're going to use minor chords. So, and a lot of times, not always, the minor blues is going to be like a slow type blues. But at the very basis, it's still a 1-4-5. There's A minor. Here's the D minor 7. Back to A minor, E minor 7. Then you could do like a E7 sharp 9 there. You could do an E7. I like the way that E7 sharp 9 sounds. So those chords, that's a D minor 7 if you're able to do bar chords. D minor 7, that's a root 5 bar chord. E minor 7, and then your Jimi Hendrix chord here, your E7 sharp 9. This is the one chord in Purple Haze. You know, one thing that was cool about what Jimmy did, you know, a lot of times before that, before Purple Haze came out, the E7 sharp 9 was mostly used as a 5 chord. But then Jimmy, and I'm sure there are other examples of people doing it too, but that Purple Haze was such a huge hit. It hit really hard. He turned it into a 1 chord, right? So super cool on that. But that's a whole nother subject. Now, beyond that, you know, and by the way, the time signature of what I just played in that minor blues is more like a 12/8 type feel, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A little bit of a triplet feel there. 12/8 is definitely more confusing, but a lot of the slower, you know, type of ballads in the blues are definitely in 12/8. A lot of great stuff. Um, Now, I mentioned Jimi Hendrix, you know, his song Red House, that's a dominant blues. So a dominant blues would be, and I'll use A again as the example, even though I think Red House is in B flat or B, but you can make all the chords dominant. A7, you could do D7 like this, you know, like your C7, where you have the C shape and then you put your pinky down, same fret as your third finger, right? Your third finger is going to be the root, right? But we're at D7 there. So you've got like A7, D7. Now, actually, the D9 sounds a whole lot cooler for the 4 chord and the 5 chord, the 9, which is still dominant, and that would be like this. So, James Brown used this chord a lot. Right, so, and then your E9. Okay, now, a progression for that would be, you know, once again in 12/8, like, quick change. And then E9. Back to the 4. Right, so that's kind of the progression for Red House right there, even though it's in a different key. But, like I said, I think Red House is in B flat or B. But, let's go back to that turnaround that I was talking about, because no matter whether you're playing the dominant blues or the shuffle, you can't totally do it in the same way over the minor blues. You'd have to play a different type turnaround there. But once again, I was saying in the key of E, it's based off of that E7. So if we're in A, or, this type of shuffle, how you figure that out? How do you figure out where to start that turnaround? Now, basically, on the first string, this is your A. We're going to do it in the key of A once again. Try to keep this consistent here. So all you do is you go up 2 whole steps from there, A, B, C sharp, and then you play that A7 shape. Pull off your first finger. So it's a little bit different when it's not in the open position, right? So, some of this is based off of that A right there. Like I go like that. So chromatic into the major third. Then I go 4 sharp 4 5, right? So D blue note, D sharp or E flat, and then E, and then I play this little E7 triangle right there. Just like that. One more time. Picking it the same way. Pick and finger. All right. So there's 3 different types of blues that I went through. There's the shuffle with the power chords. There's the minor blues, and then the dominant blues. You can also play the dominant blues in that other pattern where you have like the E7 here based off of the 5th string, and then the A7 and the B7. You can do the same thing with minor blues. It could be E minor, then A minor, and then you can do the shuffle. So the 1-4-5s stay the same whether they are major, minor, or dominant, which is kind of crazy when you really start to understand the theory. But these dudes were pretty smart that figured out you're able to do that, like Robert Johnson, Booker White, the early guys. Booker White, I think, he was related to BB King. He's the one that actually gave BB lessons in the beginning and kind of taught him how to play some guitar. Booker was pretty early on. Man, there's some other guys too. Your Blind Willie McTell, Blind Lemon, those guys, all the blind guys. Um, but that's kind of everything I want to talk about as far as the different types of blues that you can play, where the 1-4-5 is from, and you know, talk about the different like minor, major, dominant. Now, I will show you one of the examples from my beginner blues licks ebook, which it's a 12 bar blues, and it's adding in basic licks. Uh, adding them in one by one. The ebook, there's 20 different licks in there. And we'll just do the first one. And William, I actually saw you play in your video. You played lick number 1. This one. And this is over a 12 bar blues in E. The book is available for download in the link below. After I edit the video, put in the links and everything. But if you look on any of my videos in YouTube, there's a link to it in my link tree. It's a great book. It's a great way to add in blues licks. It's book 1. I'm starting to write book 2. I've got to write book 2, book 3, book 4. I've got a lot of, I'm going to be writing a lot of books. So real excited about that. But basically this lick is one that we've heard a lot. It's almost like smokestack lightning. A bunch of other licks. It's even kind of somebody pointed out to me that it's like Spinal Tap. Give me some money. Which I love Spinal Tap. If you've never seen that movie, hilarious. But the 12 bar is just the basic 12 bar. We play that lick over and over again, and let me show it to you right now. So the lick starts on beat 2 of every measure that it's in. So it's a pickup at the beginning. So it goes. Right, so that's one time through, and it's a great way to work on your reaction time, going back and forth between single notes and the actual chords. It's great for self accompaniment. Really helps with your technique, and playing it over and over again like that, you really start to get it into your playing. And then eventually, like I said, there's 20 different licks. They're all tabbed out, and there's video examples of each lick. And each one's tabbed out in that 12 bar. What we do after we kind of get each one down, or a few of them down, is you start to mix them together. Like, for instance, I could do lick 1 and lick 2 together. That's lick 2. And then when you get a few of those together, like, the first 4 or 5 of them, you start cycling through all those. You start to get used to playing those single notes. Then suddenly you can start to add them together, combine them, which is kind of step 3. So it's, stuff like that. You can turn them into turnarounds. You can turn them into like a little bit longer licks, and start working on solos. Eventually you put a few of them together. Right, so there's that turnaround again. But the book is a great way, like I said, to add in more blues licks if you like the blues. Now that is basically it for my live today. Does anybody have any questions before I go? I've got to eat lunch and take a bunch of my guitars in for repair finally. So does anybody have any questions? And I want to thank everybody for joining my live, and thanks for watching my videos. Thanks, William. Did you understand everything? I'm sure you did. We'll get to more intricate licks too, William. Like what we were talking about, where you're trying to add in more ideas with that 12 bar. So yeah. I'll be doing more on this. So, and you can always how to get in touch with me. Just send me questions that you have, you know. Everybody will come up with questions after I get off the live. So, all right. Well, that's basically it for today. Once again, thanks y'all for joining in. I'm going to edit this video and then post it. And definitely, if you're interested in purchasing my ebook, it's available. It's on sale. There'll be a link below this video, and you can just download it. And then, like I said, it's tabbed out. There's videos. And then also, if you'd like to join my Patreon and give me more support there, it's only $5. And there's also a link for that that will be below. And thanks, y'all. Thanks for joining in. I hope everybody got something out of this. Definitely practice it and review the video. And I hope everybody has a great day. We'll talk soon. I'll be posting another video this weekend too.